The Simone Feiler podcast, giving authors a platform. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, I have spent the last 3 days laughing out loud, crying and learning so much about loving and living with autism, the brand new book and soon to be released audiobook by Julie Cross. I had to bite my tongue to stop myself from interrupting the recording and asking questions along the way. I actually did have to stop to belly laugh out loud a number of times. And it is my absolute pleasure to be chatting with the author on my podcast today. Welcome, Julie Cross.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I thank you for staying back and having a chat with me so I can ask all these questions. So firstly, how did you enjoy the experience in the booth narrating your work to me?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was much more exhausting, as I expressed to you, than what I had envisaged it would be. It's so interesting. And I guess when it's such a personal journey as well, I think I underestimated the emotional toll on sitting there and being with it and reading and having to do it so, in it, because of making sure I did a good job and you helped me with that, coaching me through what I needed to do to make sure it was being heard the way I would want it to be heard. So it was fantastic. Thank you. It was much more exhausting than I thought, but it was such a it was amazing experience.
Yeah, did it give you a different dimension of the story, reading it out loud to writing it?
Yeah, I think it did, actually. I think it was really interesting in listening to myself say it all. And there were moments of a little bit of disbelief that I'd been there, and that was really me, because I think, this is a journey I've moved forward from, and obviously I've written it over, 20 years and the first 20 years. And so, I've even moved further forward now. And so to sort of be back in it, and I had moments where it's like, wow, we did this. This was our story. Yeah, so it was interesting.
To be honest, before this, I've had absolutely zero experience with autism. And like yourself, being a single mum, it's been a challenge for me, bringing up 3 kids of my own, running a business and whatever. And I have to say that I stand totally corrected now, because before Tuesday, before you rocked up, I kind of thought autism was a bad parenting thing.
Wow.
I really did. I really did. So ignorant. Ignorant.
No. and that's okay, because, and it is everywhere now. It really is. And look, I'm not saying I wouldn't have had those same judgments back then, and when that story about my neighbour, and I'm asking her, what is it with Dylan? What's wrong with him? And then not realising that my son that was crawling around on the floor was going to be on that same journey. And I would have subconsciously made some of those judgments. Oh, just make him eat it, babysitting Dylan once and he wouldn't eat his chicken and he's dry retching on it. And I'm thinking, oh, just eat it, and then I have a Thomas that can't physically swallow because of the sensory issues.
Yeah. So, it's a bit of a theme through your book, that people don't actually understand it. And now that I've heard the whole thing, it's like, I have no idea. I had no idea just the challenges. And, I commend you. Like I said, I'm so grateful that you've read your book to me, because it's enlightened me. I'm sure it's going to bring a lot of it to light for people that listen to it. Before you met your neighbour, had you ever met anyone with autism prior to that?
No, I mean, my experience for that, and for many of us it would have been Rain Man.
Yeah.
We all remember Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Anyway, but yeah, that was pretty much all we had with regards to what does autism present like. And it's so grateful now that you've got shows like Sheldon on, that
The
show.
Doctor, The Good Doctor.
The Good Doctor.
Yeah.
There's so many more shows now that really showcase what being on the spectrum could look like and the contribution it can make to society, and normalising it more. And also finding the lightness and humour around it, rather than that negative thing where it's just about breaking things or, all of that negative behaviour that we sort of is associated with autism.
Yeah, well, that definitely shines through in your book, the humour. And, I don't know how you actually managed to keep it with all of that going on in your whole life.
Yeah, well, without the humour, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. I can tell you that. That's right. I wouldn't have made it to this far, I don't think. And that's really what I want people to know, is that, through all of that, you are allowed to find your humour, and you are allowed to find those moments of, of absolute disbelief that you're in it, fascination, frustration, and still find the funny moments.
Well, the other major factor that I wasn't expecting is that not only did you discover that your baby and your family were going to be living with autism, but your husband suffered a stroke and you had to deal with everything. Frick me. It was then I thought that I've got awesomeness in the studio with me. Bless you, Julie. You are a star, like inspiring, you're funny, nurturing, you're patient, you're compassionate, you're capable, you're real, you're fun.
Thank
you're
you.
down to earth, you're an absolute diamond. So tell me a little bit about you, like, and your journey when you were young, where, you know, growing up and stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm a country girl, so I grew up in the bush, you know, and I tell a story when I do my events, and one of the things I talk about is the resilience from our younger years and the lessons, I guess, that when we look back, we can find the lucky me moments in them. And so I grew up in the bush and, you know, we worked on farming properties and we were never the owners of the farm. My dad was a worker on the farm. And back in those days, you just shifted where the work was. So before I left home at 16, we'd lived in 12 different houses, I think it was. You know, and back then there was no discussion on, do you think you're going to be okay with moving to all these schools? You know, how's your resilience? Are you going to be all right? It was just, aren't you lucky we're going to go to a new school and you're going to make new friends? You know, we're going to have a new house somewhere. So I look back now and see that was fantastic because that gave me this incredible foundation to scaffold from and live a big life and know that change won't break me, it may make me. And in fact that, you know, we will make friends everywhere we go and we'll call on those friends for help and support. And so, you know, a moment that could have been seen as, oh, poor you shifting to all those different houses and having to make new friends. No, lucky me that I learnt that, you know, that change won't break me. In fact, it may make me because that is what I scaffold from today. And so I think we underestimate all of those experiences in our childhood that sometimes we're trying to protect our children from.
Yeah.
But in fact, they grow these amazing muscles of confidence, courage and resilience that we might just need because, you know, life will give us some challenges. And I've had some big ones. Other people, you know, we can sit and play the comparison game. I'm not the one with the biggest challenges in the world. But we're all going to have them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I had mine all at once, you know, for a while there, but we all are going to have a story.
Yeah. I like where you said in your book that, you know, if you had the choice to go in and choose a whole bunch of problems, you'd go in and choose the ones you've got because you know you can deal with them.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so, and these challenges have helped make me who I am, and I like who I am today. You know, there's been times I haven't liked who I was in amongst that journey because, you know, sure, I was strong and all that, but the worst of me didn't look good either. So, you know, I've got no problem. No, and I've got no problems admitting that either. And I think that's part of that vulnerability or having the courage to own all of those moments. You know, in amongst that journey, we don't always do it well. It's messy. And I think we've forgotten that sometimes life gets messy. We've become attached to this Instagram picture perfect version of the world.
So true.
Yeah, because that's not real. Behind every, you know, perfect Instagram photo, there's a mess going on in the background. And we were a big mess and we were simply doing the best we could in amongst the mess that we had and finding those moments of laughter and joy and remembering we still had a right to them in amongst all of that mess and all of that sadness and all of that, what was so hard. You know, I just remember once saying to my mum, I just want a day when there's nothing big to worry about because it all seems so big. But I look now and I've got to the view. You know, I'm looking at a beautiful view now.
Yeah.
And life's so wonderful. So it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to kind of visualise where you're going when you're in the mess like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, how was your support system for you?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. When life squeezes you, like life was squeezing us, it squeezes everyone else around you as well. And it reveals us. So sometimes the people that you think should be showing up for you the most aren't. And so there's a whole journey around that too, which I didn't want to write about because I wanted to protect people in that journey. But you don't always get the help from where you think it should be coming from or the people that you think should be showing up for you.
So true.
And yes, and often it's because of their journey, you know, and what they're going through. So you have to find it from wherever you can find it. So I am so thankful for all of those that did show up. And there were amazing people. I talked a lot about school communities in my book because without those communities, I could not have done it. Friends, you know, and then those family members that did show up too. You know, without them, well, I couldn't. But I called on the community, you know, and I could have shrunk away and just tried to do it myself or not ask for help because I didn't want people to know we were struggling or how hard it was.
How was that like Where did you find that thing to say, I'm going to ask for help now? Because there's a lot of people, maybe introverted mothers and, the people that are dealing with the situation that don't know how to actually put themselves out to do that.
Yeah, I just think you just have to take the step, even if it's a small step. It doesn't have to be the letter in to everybody like I did it. And it can just be the small step. It can just be in your small circle of friends, doing it with those people, just be having an honest conversation with a girlfriend. And I think that we're doing less of it these days because we're trying to keep up appearances, make it keep looking like we're coping and looking like that perfect Instagram family or, that we've got it all together. And we do ourselves a great injustice in doing that. We do our families an injustice, ourselves, and then the people around us, because then everybody's keeping it, as soon as you say to someone you're not coping, they're like, oh, thank God, you too.
That's so
I
true.
feel so much better now. And I always used to say, oh, I'm just here to live my life to make you feel better about yours, and then that became a standing joke, and we would find laughter and joy, a bottle of bubbles with some girlfriends and some kitchen table therapy, men around the Barbie, that's good. That's good therapy. That's us being honest. And so we need more of that. We need to be honest with each other when we're struggling, I think, because people are good people and people want to help, when you open your heart up, they really do.
Yeah, so true. It's just a matter of actually being real with people. And like you said, the internet's come along and kind of taken all of that away from us.
Yes.
Well,
and especially if we're relying just on social media for interaction.
Yeah.
And you heard that story for me, that also was great for me, because when I started sharing the autism stories on social media, because really that's where this book's come from, is all those posts. So when I started sharing all those stories, that made me feel less alone when I had people commenting and all of that. But you still can't just let that be it. You just can't let that be your interaction. You have to have that
real
group
people
around you of real people, of real connections, of letting people see that, walk into your home to see it really is like that, and sit in it with you sometimes.
Yeah. Good advice. Very true. So Flash, he was the love of your life.
Darling Flash, yes.
Father to your two incredible boys, Jack and Thomas. Tell us about Flash. How did you guys meet?
So we met in Townsville. There's a saying, and you'll hear more about this in my next book too, but there's a saying that if you move to Townsville a single girl, chances are you'll marry an army guy. Big army town, sea view session on a Sunday, 2-for-1 drinks. We met and fell in love.
You went there a few times?
Yeah, so it was just lovely. He was just this wonderful storyteller too. He was funny, he had a great sense of humour. And he was a big, strong man, and he's believed in me. I mean, he was that guy that said to me 27 years ago, start your business and I've got your back and I'll be here for you. So, yeah, he was in the army, and we went on the journey from Townsville down to Melbourne, and then from Melbourne back up to Brisbane.
So I can't imagine you had much time to really grieve the loss of Flash, given that you had your two young children to bring up and you had to go through the process. You're probably still going through that process.
Yeah, well, we're 15 years on, since losing my darling Flash. So 15 years on last year. But, I've just done life's full circle moment in this space of feeling sad and feeling joy. I truly believe, because of the depths of despair I've been to, I know the heights of joy that some people never get to and never allow themselves to get to. I think sometimes we allow guilt that we're not supposed to be feeling happy, take us down, and we've really got to give ourselves permission to find our joy. How dare I not respect this wonderful life that I still get to live? And as Flash left this world, he took my hand and he walked me onto a bigger stage, and I know that, and he's not looking down going, oh, for God's sake, she's in sequins again already, or she's laughing already, or he would be cheering me on.
Yeah.
And I know that for sure. And I've forgotten the question because that's how I roll. About how we go. Yeah, so I got it. It comes back. And so we went and had a full circle moment last year. So I mentioned to you in our recording, I mean, I see angels everywhere, and Flash is always with me. And as we were actually recording a rather point story during this.
That was so weird.
And I think we'd even talked to something about Flash, and then my mum rang and it was 11:11, and of course Flash, they're the angel numbers if you believe in that sort of thing.
You were actually reading like the section about the angels and how they present themselves.
That's what it was, the angels, yeah.
As my skin walked out the door.
That's right.
It was crazy. Right. I was like, what?
And these moments happen all the time. And so 11:11 comes up as my mum rings, and that's the angel numbers. But Flash also passed away on the 11th of the 11th, which is also also Remembrance Day.
Right.
And so the 11th of the 11th clearly has always been obviously a heavy day, but it's also been a day we've celebrated Flash and remembered. But last year, my oldest son, Jack, married his beautiful fiancée on the 11th of the 11th. So taking what has been, one of our most painful days into one of our most beautiful days, and a nod out to, obviously, his dad as well. And so to me, that really represents a full circle life moment.
Yeah.
That you can have your biggest pain point, but you're allowed to turn that into one of your greatest moments in life. And I feel like I'm grateful I've lived long enough to be able to do that.
That's amazing. I've never thought of looking at it like that. That's a really good thing.
So, yeah, and I think we just got to give ourselves permission no matter what you are going through. And, with autism particularly, which is why I find the humour in our journey and choose to be fascinated more than frustrated and to laugh more than cry, is because if I don't, what am I going to do? And we're not here to be punished by life. We're not here to be punished by autism or punished by challenging children or punished by broken relationships. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It hurts. But let us give ourselves permission to get up through the hurt and then find the equal and opposite heights of joy, because it's waiting for us to do that.
Gee, what an amazing woman you are.
Oh,
you really are. You're awesome.
Thank you.
You're funny. You're funny.
Thank you. I do think I'm a little bit funny.
You're funny. Your book is like LOL funny. I wanted to laugh out loud a lot more than I did, but sometimes I thought, oh my God, it's inappropriate to laugh at this bit, I'm sure.
Oh, no.
Because those moments.
That's why I write it like I write it, because I do want people to be laughing and almost crying at the same time. And that's what the feedback I get when I speak about all of this is that, oh my God, Julie, I was laughing and crying and I wasn't sure if I'm supposed to be laughing or crying.
Yeah.
And that to me is the capture of my life. That's how it's felt. And life is a roller coaster ride of emotions. Life, when you look at life in motion of a heartbeat, it's up and down. It's not flatlining. Flatlining is dying. So, I sort of say when people feel like, people sort of say, I can't believe what you've been through. I'm going, I'm living, baby. I'm really living. I'm doing the up and down of life.
You're on that roller coaster.
Yeah. I never got the merry-go-round ticket. I got the roller coaster ticket for sure.
So awesome. There are so many insightful moments throughout living and loving with autism, and the challenges. Most of these are laugh out loud just quietly, but the carpet guy and Thomas announcing the two very inappropriate two-word names.
That's right.
Your reaction, his reaction. Highly recommend getting the book just for that story. Just for that story.
And what's really lovely, actually, can I just say, just hearing your reflections of the fact that you've never sort of had anything to do with autism before, because I feel like with my title, I may have sort of removed an audience and not meant to. I think people will sometimes see the title Living and Loving with Autism. Well, I don't have anything to do with autism. I don't really want to know about autism, so I don't want to buy the book. But in fact, it resonates with everybody, and even people who have got nothing to do with autism or don't even know anything about it. And I think that people don't maybe realise that when they first see the title of the book, that there's something in it for everybody.
I know there's something in it for everybody, but you might have a point there with it, because I don't know if
you would have picked it up.
Before meeting you, I probably would have thought, that's right. Not for me.
That's right. Exactly.
I probably would have thought that's bad parenting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another one trying to get out of their bad parenting. I'll see what they're up to.
That's bad. But I know I'll be advocating now saying, oh, no.
Yeah. And I think that initially when I started sharing my insights and stories on social media around autism, that's what I noticed, is that a lot of the people that were interacting and that followed those posts had nothing to do with autism. They didn't have autism in their family. They weren't parents of anyone who was autistic.
Right.
So I knew then that everyone was interested in these stories, that it wasn't just about autism.
It's just like the warts and all story. I've got to read this other intro that I've got for you as well. The traffic lights, the quicksand, the wondering, the communication, the connection, the calm, the very, very, very calm. You're patient. That's your virtue. The fun, the love, the letters, the understandings, the hardships amongst the achievements, the growth, the tolerance, the compassion, and how you nurtured two young children essentially on your own into capable, respectful, strong, understanding and loving young men. It's all in your book, written with honesty, integrity and transparency. Yeah, I am well impressed with how you delivered all of that out of something that I thought was bad parenting. How do your boys feel about it? Have they read it?
Yeah, so Well, okay, Thomas hasn't read it, but he read the updates when they were on social media. And when I had all the notes sitting around, he would come along and read it, and he would laugh to himself when he was reading some of them. And he goes, "Oh, Thomas doesn't do that anymore." And I said, "No, Thomas." And a lot of people ask about that. But, Thomas has never indicated to me or ever said that he doesn't want me to share it. He has never indicated that he's embarrassed or he, feels like it's not the right thing to do. So, and if he had, of course, that would be different.
Yeah.
Jack is really proud, I think, that he doesn't say it so much because he's this cool, well, now 26-year-old young man, so he doesn't sort of necessarily say it in well, he does every now and again, but he doesn't say it in so many words. But I can tell you that I did a book launch. They both came. And Thomas actually said a speech at the book launch.
Oh,
and he did an amazing job.
That's very cool.
And so many of his teachers and friends and family, and the room was just filled with people who had been on this journey with us. And you could see how proud they were, all of us as a family. And I saw Jack that night beaming, And when I tell the stories, they laugh, Especially Jack, I see him lean into them, and I see he lean back from them and throw his head back and leans back into them. And Thomas just looked so proud, and because it was all about him. So him getting up there on stage and saying his speech and then getting all of the congratulations afterwards and everyone coming up and being so proud of him, that just feeds his confidence and his self-esteem.
Yeah. That's one of the themes as well through the book is that, it's not about winning the top award. It's about taking the baby steps for him and just acknowledging the steps that he's taken.
That's right.
How much he's grown.
That's right. And I think that that's a point that every parent can learn from. I think that we've become in our society way too focused on academic achievement being the be-all and end-all of everything. We need to let our children know that we're proud of them for much less than that, and that if they don't choose that academic route, that does not mean that they aren't going to be able to serve the world. Thomas, and this is my next book, but Thomas now works at Woolworths and he does online ordering. And again, he's doing the most incredible job there. He has found his stage to serve the world from. There are no menial jobs, only menial attitudes.
Yeah, so true.
And he is making a difference. He goes up and he's contributing to the team members. He's contributing to the clients. The customers. He's making people's day. And he's loving it. And he's doing such a great job. So
everybody's loved him the whole way through.
Oh, he has. It's just
except
and
you.
Again, it's just me.
You got the
he doesn't.
abuse.
I always say he loves all the people. It's just me he doesn't like. And again, as a parent, you learn to put your ego aside, because my job is to make sure I give him the safe space to let any of those negative behaviours come out. And to a sense, all children, or we do that with each other as partners and children and family. But in doing that, what I have seen then is that he has got the energy and got what it takes to move through the world really well. And that's my measure then, that I've done a good job.
Yeah, that's the hardship of being, I guess, a mum.
Yeah,
not necessarily of an autistic child, but any children, to let them be themselves and
that's right.
show it all here, warts and all.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do the right thing out there. And what about Jack? They got married.
Yeah, Jack and Ree. So they're doing so great. They live in Townsville, so they've been transferred up there. And again, look at this for a full circle moment. I've met my husband in Townsville and now Jack and Ree are now living in Townsville. And they're doing so great. He has been such a great big brother. And of course, I shared that letter that he wrote to me in high school and the reflection of what it's like for a sibling. And as I said too, that's a whole other book, and maybe one day he'll write a book about that, because it's not easy for the siblings, and there's a movie called The Black Balloon, which is an Australian movie, and it's all about, very much focused on a sibling of a young man who is on the spectrum. And it's very confronting, but I suggest anyone who's interested in that journey and looking at what it's like from a sibling's point of view, it's a very confronting movie, but an amazing movie for showing what it's like for the siblings in this journey. So for Jack, it's been tough, but he's grown into who he is today as a result of that journey as well.
Yeah.
And he's doing so great.
He's incredibly compassionate as well, just writing that letter and understanding it from your point of view and letting you know that I understand what you're going. I had tears streaming down my face.
But also the courage to let me know that it did hurt. There was great courage for that, and kudos to his school that take them on this, this amazing personal development camp that they took them on in year 12, where they could explore all of those emotions and name their storms, and then to be able to write a letter to me and say, that I understand it was so hard. I'm so proud of you. but I do feel like I missed out a little bit. And that was great courage for him to do that, and my job was to hear it because he's right.
Yeah.
So for him to give him a safe space to express that, but as you said, he also acknowledged that he understood it. There was no way around it.
Yeah.
So all of that. And then, Jack shares his reflection in this book as well of Thomas and who he is today. So it was lovely for me to read that and for him to contribute that as well. And to see that, that we've all come through it and we're all okay.
So is Thomas still with you at home?
Yes, he is. So Thomas lives very much independently with me.
Yeah.
I've just started,
I think he had done since pretty much 12, hadn't he?
No, he has. Been doing his washing since then. There are definitely gifts. I'll tell you that. There's gifts. And so I've just started travelling again. So now that I can, because he is so independent, I've started going overseas again, and I have a couple trips every year on my own. I went to India this year, and I went away for 5 weeks, which is the longest I've been away from him. I get back home, my plants are alive, the house is tidy, everything is in order. He is eating healthy. My mum just lives up the road, so not too far. But honestly, mum invites him around for dinner and, do you want to come? No, I'm an adult nanny. I can do things by myself. So he very much loves his independence. And I think that anyone who is a parent of a child with a disability, the greatest gift you can give them is their independence.
Well, that was another thing I wanted to ask you about it. You were very good at doing that.
Well, I had to be. I feel like life pushed me into it because of our family situation.
Yeah.
Because of losing my husband, me still having had to work, I was the income earner.
You didn't even mention work in your book. How did you fit work in, for goodness sake?
I don't even know how we made that
What
happen.
the heck?
Again, that's that tribe I was talking about. So I just had to, and so that meant that there were gaps that I just couldn't be there, and I had to trust. And I talk a lot about trust and faith and trusting Thomas to catch the train, and that didn't mean that I wasn't driving beside the train a couple of times or driving beside the bus, waving to him on the bus. But I did, and I see that as a gift now, because if I had a situation that didn't require all of that from me, I could have easily been the helicopter parent.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a disability, he can't do that on his own. And I can see now he wouldn't be as independent if I had done that. And so really I see that was a gift in the end.
Yeah. And people need to take more of a leaf out of your book to encourage that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That I think it's too easy that once you've got a diagnosis to then shut down and go, oh my God, he's not the same as everyone else. He can't do everything like everyone else. And that doesn't mean, as I said, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
There were many moments where, my heart was in my throat and, where is he now? And trying to keep him safe physically, safe mentally and emotionally as well, safe from everybody else while letting him explore the world. It doesn't mean it was easy, and it doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean there were times that took me to an edge. But again, we got through it, and when I look at it now, that was a gift for sure when I see who he is today.
Yeah, I think every parent can
we need
take
to
something
be aware.
out of that.
That's exactly right. We got to give them the gaps to grow into, and I really learned that. Even with Jack, when I was there, Jack, get out of bed. Jack, hurry up and get out of bed. You're going to be late for the bus. Jack, get out of bed. Jack, hurry up and get out of bed. And then I'd be away for work, and I'd ring Jack to make sure he was out of bed. Oh, I'm ready. I've been ready for half an hour.
Yeah, they can
why are you ready when I'm not there? He goes, well, you're not here to wake me up, so I've got to get up. So once
They
you
are
give them the
wind-up
gap,
merchants.
that's right.
They will take them all.
Yes. So when they've got a gap and I'm not there, he's up and he's ready. So I'm like, I see what's going on.
You did your job.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well done. I loved your book.
Thank you.
And we've got another one.
We have.
I'm excited to hear this one. And I thought, so you are a public speaker, and I kind of thought, you must be doing your speaking on this topic now.
No, not
got
at
it all. Yeah.
So the stories come in obviously when I speak, but no, I'm an inspirational speaker. Some people call it motivational speaker, I guess.
Yep.
But that business started.
Highly sought after, I might add. Yeah.
Thank you. That business started 27 years ago. So I didn't have these stories when I started that business, but obviously now these stories are certainly some of the stories that I share from the stage, and very much, in the space of resilience, in the space of self-awareness, self-leadership, mood management, getting back up through the tough times, those muscles of courage and persistence and all of those things. So finding our joy and laughter through bad times and through change management, inclusion, diversity, all of these are very relevant messages to all organisations, and these stories really all tell those stories.
Do you do one-on-one with people?
At a request, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
How can people contact you?
Best way, everything's on my website, juliecross.com.au.
It's been such a pleasure, Julie. Thank you so
mine
much.
too. Thanks for being so great at what you do and
Yeah.
making my first audiobook experience so fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to get your book out there for everyone to hear it. And I'm excited to be the first to hear your new one. Or your first one.
First one. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jules.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the Simone Feiler podcast.
What's your story?
Contact Simone for a chat at brisbaneaudiobookproduction.com.